טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים. אוי 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 שבת אחים גם יחד. שבת אחים גם יחד. שבת אחים גם יחד.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom and Bruchim Habaim. Welcome. You are at home and we are here in the sanctuary, but we are together, spiritually connected through our love of the temple, our connection to our Jewish tradition, here to celebrate Shabbat. And, I realize this is the Shabbat preceding Thanksgiving. So I'm thinking that during this Shabbat, I'm going to be kind of moving my mind and heart into gratitude as we make our way to the wonderful, beautiful holiday of Thanksgiving. We hope you'll find our service meaningful and uplifting, and we hope you'll feel you can follow along if you'd like to in the prayer book that's available to you on the web, right there on the website where you are. You just click on the link. It's a flip book. Or if you don't want to do that, you can just listen, sit back, take in the songs you know, the prayers and poems of our service. We're going to sing Shalom Aleichem.
Yeah, we're going to sing Shalom Aleichem because I know you love Shalom Aleichem.
It's absolutely one of my favorite ways to welcome Shabbat. Shalom Aleichem.
And it's one that welcomes in the angels into our midst. So we're on page 24 in your prayer book if you'd like to follow along and join with us in this beautiful poem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi-Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochem v'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi-Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi-Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzitzem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi-Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
And as we do every Shabbat, we welcome the Sabbath bride. We welcome the specialness of Shabbat with the lighting of Shabbat candles. We're so pleased that our president, Amy Beckman, is with us to lead us in candle lighting. And whether you want to join us maybe at this moment from home or just to listen and you'll light your candles later, we're on page 3 in the prayer book, page 3.
Shabbat Shalom. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
you so much, Amy, for joining us. We continue our Shabbat services with a little taste of Kabbalat Shabbat, beginning on page 13 with these words, Shir Ladonai Shir Chadash, may we sing a new song unto God. Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai Baruchu Shemo, Basru Meyom Leyom Yeshuato, Sapru V'Goyim Kevodo, Bechol Ha'amim Nifleotav, Ki Gadol Adonai, U'Mola Me'od, Norahu, Al Kol Elohim Yailai, Ki Kol Elohei Hamim Elilim, Adonai Shamayim Asa, Hod ve'Hadar lefanav, Oz ve'Tiferet be'mikdasho, Yailai, 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 On page 20, we welcome in the Sabbath bride this evening into our midst. We'll sing verses 1, 2, and 9. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabla. Shamar v'zachor b'dibor echad, Hishmi'anu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad, l'shemo tiferet ve'litila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabla. Verse 2. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'neilcha, ki mekor ha'beracha. Merosh mikerem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava techila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabla. Verse 9. Boi v'shalom ateret ba'ala, gam b'simcha u'betzola. Toch emunei am segula, boi chala, boi chala. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabla. We rise for the Baruch Hu on page 28.
And in our prayer book on page 31 is a poem that feels particularly fitting for this Shabbat, a Shabbat where, while this weekend's going to be beautiful, we're beginning to feel the early signs that winter will be upon us. This Shabbat where we see political change still happening in our country, this Shabbat where we're headed, as I said before, towards Thanksgiving. And so I share this poem with you. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or shall we cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. And whatever choices we make, we do so in a spirit of unity, bringing together our families, bringing together our community and our Judaism. The Shema, a prayer of oneness, God's and ours, captures that theme. We are on page 34.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Please be seated. We join together as we chant Ve'ahavta, page 36. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha Veshinantam levadecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot ayadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
And as we make our way to Mi Chamocha, a poem on page 39, standing On the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. And as our ancestors went from that moment where they sang Michamocha on the safe side of the Sea of Reeds, as they began their journey, they asked for God's protection. We too know we are on a journey, and especially at this time as we see COVID cases rising, we ask for God's protection. Every Shabbat we sing Hashkivenu for protection of the evening, but really for protection throughout all the challenges of our lives. We're on page 42, singing together.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, ve'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim, l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, ve'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim, l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, ve'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim, l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, ve'hamidenu shomrenu l'chaim, l'chaim. We turn now to page 46 as we join together in the words of the Amidah. I invite you, if you feel comfortable doing so at home, to please rise. Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'Konei Hakol, v'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevii Geula livnei v'neihem, leman shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol, atah rav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morir hagashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim ve'rofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar. Michamocha bal givurot umido melach. Melech meimit umechaye umatzmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman ata lachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hakol. Page 52. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. I'd like to turn now to page 59. Again, as we look towards these days of Thanksgiving, we have this beautiful prayer of gratitude in our Amidah, Modim anachnu lach. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulechana lehodot. We continue with a few moments of our own silent prayer and meditation. Shalom
And after that beautiful song of peace, a song that calls for shalom in the world, we step into our role as supporting those people who need shalom, offering a prayer for those people who need a sense of peace and a sense of wholeness as they go through a difficult time. And in hearing the names of those in need, being inspired to do something to help that person, to reach out in some way. And as we do each week, we offer this Misha Berach, this prayer for their well-being. Misha Berach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'Imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yivarech et ha-Holim. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal all those members of our temple family, the circle of family and friends that each one of us is a part of. May God heal and support and strengthen all of them, including Alon ben Barbara, David Eliyahu, Hannah Esther bat Crandell, Nechama bat Chava v'Chanoch, Yehuda ben Fischel, Rabbi Laszlo Berkowitz, Sally Bloomberg, Henry Botuck, Benaiah Ferdevar, Elizabeth Drapkin, Sidney Duberstein, Carlene Dubin, Rachel Duff, Kathy Hall, Matthew Kaiser, Jamie Kidwell, Jill Landsberg and Louis Landsberg, Candace Mauerhahn, Bino Solomon, Brian Strongen, and Norma Tucker. And we think of all those people who are struggling with COVID. As these cases rise, we pray that they will make it through. We think of all the people who are in need of healing. They've experienced violence around our country in Israel, or those who, in service to our country, are in need of healing and help. And we turn to that song, that beautiful and inspiring song of prayer for healing, Misha Berach.
Shabbat Shalom. It's a pleasure for me tonight to offer a little taste of Torah for this evening. This weekend we read from Parshat Toldot, the parsha that continues to chronicle Isaac and Rebekah's relationship and the birth of their twin sons, Jacob and Esau. As a personal aside, I love this Torah portion. I have a close connection because it was my bat mitzvah portion.
Because it was your birthday
And because it was my birthday on Saturday. And so while I briefly considered a redo of my bat mitzvah speech, decided to go in a different direction tonight. In this dramatic portion, Isaac is 40, and he weds Rebekah, and they try to conceive a child. At first, as along with many of our other ancestors, Rebekah is barren. Isaac pleads on her behalf, and God responds by granting her twins. Now, I've never had the experience of being pregnant with twins, but I can relate that even one child in a womb can at times be uncomfortable for the mother. Rebekah, however, it is said, sincerely suffers. The text tells us that the babies are struggling, crushing each other even in her womb. And in response to her discomfort and her pain, she cries out to God, saying, "If so, why do I exist?" And God responds, "Two nations are in your womb. 2 separate people shall issue from your body. One shall be mightier than the other, and the older shall serve the younger." This exchange is meaningful for a few reasons. first and foremost, this is actually the very first time in the Torah when a member of our ancestry addresses God first and directly. Rebekah shares her woes with God, and amazingly, God responds. Just let that sink in for a second. Yes, in every other instance thus far in the Torah, God has initiated the conversation. With Abraham at Sodom and Gomorrah or at Mount Moriah, with Sarah when she struggles to bear a child, with Noah and the flood. Rebekah is the first one to struggle and reach out to God to question the reality of her circumstances. As you might imagine, many commentators over the millennia have tried to explain and justify this exchange. Why, after all, would God respond so readily to a woman? Rashbam, a commentator from the 11th and 12th century, claims that she doesn't actually speak to God, but speaks to the prophets who then, on her behalf, speak to God. Rambam from the 12th century says she simply prayed. She didn't actually converse with God. Josephus, the biblical historian, even claims the text is wrong and that it is really Isaac that prays on Rebekah's behalf. Even our beloved Rashi has an unsatisfactory response. He claims Rebekah to be self-absorbed and ungrateful for the chance to bring children into the world, especially after wanting it so deeply. And yet, the original text is there in our Torah, showing Rebekah's boldness. She's suffering, she's worrying about her children, and even about her own life, perhaps. She does not take her pain to her husband, to a scholar, or to a friend. She inquires directly of God, and God responds. The conversation provides direct foreshadowing to the fate of Jacob and Esau as they grow. In upcoming chapters, we learn Rebekah favors Jacob, the younger, while Isaac is partial to Esau. Jacob is a clever trickster who manipulates Esau into giving away his birthright for a cup of lentil soup. And on Isaac's deathbed, Jacob and Rebekah trick him into thinking Jacob is Esau in order to receive a blessing. Due to the honest exchange with God during her pregnancy, we, the reader, now know that a struggle between these two boys awaits. One might wonder if the exchange already biases Rebekah against her older son, Esau. Would she have favored Jacob had she not known God's prophecy that Esau would serve Jacob? Did knowing the future of her boys change how she treated them in the present, perhaps causing some of their brotherly strife? Human nature causes us to constantly worry about what might come our way in the future. Rebekah, in her boldness, asks God outright what her future might hold, and, much to the surprise of our biblical scholars, receives a direct answer, with a prophecy, no less, about the future of her offspring. And yet, does her boldness serve her? Does the truth help her or hurt her? In this one sentence of God's, Jacob and Esau's future is laid out before they are even born. We will never know whether the prophecy predicted their future or mandated it. In the modern world, how we label and treat people can so often manifest into a reality for them. Scholars in the world of parenting tell us if we label our children, perhaps call them shy, outgoing, smart, stupid, we create for them a definition of themselves that becomes increasingly hard to separate from as they grow. This can work, of course, in the adult world too. Maybe a coworker begins to believe they are lesser when they continuously hear negative feedback from a boss, or when we treat someone who has different beliefs than us as other. We have the potential of lessening their sense of self-worth. While we do not have the benefit of hearing a prophecy straight from God's mouth, we must recognize the power of our own words in determining someone else's fate. Yes, I do value Rebekah's boldness. She went straight to what she believed was the source of her discomfort. I wonder what might have happened had God responded differently. Perhaps if God had said, "Be patient, Rebecca, for your children will need you to build a bridge between them." Or, "Your pain will bear the fruit of two incredible boys, both of whom will rule a nation." Might that response have changed how she treated her children once they were born? We will never know. And yet, may we learn from this exchange to always value our words, to weigh them carefully, and to know the power they have to change the lives of those around us. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom and Toda Rabah. What a beautiful Dvar Torah from a person who knows about this issue well. We wish your pregnancy will go smoothly, more so than Rebecca. Thankfully, we know it's only one child.
Yeah.
But what beautiful insights, and thank you really for those. We continue now in our prayer book. We're on page 282. The last section of our service begins with Aleinu L'Shabeach. If you'd like to rise at home, please do so, or to raise yourself spiritually to join us in this prayer.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגפי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
And we move from Aleinu towards Kaddish Tome, the Mourner's Kaddish. On page 288, we have a number of readings, poems, meditations that help us focus on those people whom we have loved and lost, help us take a moment or two of reflection, valuing their lives, imagining their voices, their hug. So we take some time now, whether you'd like to pick a reading between this page 288 and 294, or just taking some time to remember someone whose yahrzeit falls at this time, or someone who, as Thanksgiving approaches, you especially miss. We take a moment, and then I will share the names of those people who have died in the past month and those people who have yahrzeit on this Shabbat. We begin by extending our condolences to those people who have lost a beloved member of their family in just the last 30 days. They are in the period of Shloshim. We hope the Temple family has been a source of comfort to you all. We extend our condolences to Janessa Hoffman on the death of her father, Michael Jacobson, to Judy Gayer on the death of her brother, David Sandler, and Ian Leibowitz on the death of his wife, Donna Oishi, to Walt Gans on the death of his mom, Vivian, Jamie Hecker on the death of his mom, Alice Hecker, to Mark Groff on the death of his mother, Peggy, and Laura Corns on the death of her sister, Alicia Kilpatrick, to Richard Saperstein on the death of his wife, Lisa. We think of our own member, Karen Jackson. We extend our condolences to Patricia Cooper on the death of her son and Jackie Cooper on the death of her husband, Rick Cooper, to Lee Walzer on the death of his mom, Maxine, and to Susan Mayman on the death of her father, William Borowski, Jr. To these names we add the names of people whose yahrzeits fall on this Shabbat each year. Alan Brazel, Claire Bronstein, Irma Brown, Maria Corillo, Paul Daniso, Howard Davidoff, David Davidson, Milton Eisner, Shirley Eichus, Marion Feldman, Bertha Fisher, Nancy Forbes, Dorothy Friedman, Joseph Garton, Muriel Gell, Randy Gershon, Edwin Gessel, Maurice Glassman, Sam Gleischer, Annie Goldberg, Robert Green, Eugene Gross, Melvin Gross, Louis Haight, Clara Hillel, Walter Hogel, Joel Kamen, Morris Katz, Irving Kay, Stanley Kirstein, Matt Koike, Edwin Korn, Miriam Kramer, Jean Lanter, Sid Lehman, Albert Leon, Madeline Littman, Bella Melgover, Sarah Moore, Grace Padlosky, Elizabeth Podell, Hope Prescott, Herbert Ritter, Devora Mintz Rosenthal, James A. Rubenstein, Mildred Salisbury, Joanne Ellen Seif, Leah Smiley, Edward Suckle, Florine Stefanik, Richard Strickgartz, Paulette Tabak, Joseph Vago, George Weinstein, Arlene Wilson, and Alice Zug. And please allow me to pause before reciting Kaddish Yatom. Perhaps I mispronounced a word, a name. Won't you say it aloud where you are? Or if you have a name, someone you're remembering who is not on this list, I hope you'll say that name now. I wish we could all hear the words you're saying. And now, on page 294, we recite Kaddish Yatom together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach hirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach leolam omei omaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudisha b'ruchu, leolam min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, da'amiran b'alma v'imeru amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shamaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imiru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, Huya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the source of peace send peace and strength, love and support to everyone who is mourning, to everyone who is grieving here and everywhere, and let us say at home and here in the sanctuary, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Before we end our service with Kiddush, a final song and a final blessing, we have the great pleasure of having 4 young people becoming B'nai Mitzvah on this Shabbat, and I'd like to extend my congratulations to all of them. Their pictures are going to pop up on the screen. Mazel Tov to Jacob and Harrison Perlman, talking about a great day to become a bar mitzvah if you're twins, and there you have it. How perfect. And at Mincha, we congratulate Karina Barkov and Lexi Gerstel. And there they are. How great. I'm looking forward to be part of many of those services tomorrow. And now we conclude. Are there any other words of announcement?
I think so.
Nope. Okay. Always check your connection and our website for great activities that are coming up.
Absolutely. We conclude with Kiddush on page 5. Please join us in this sweet moment with maybe something sweet of your own at home. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'rotzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho v'yahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron le'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'chata ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen.
L'chaim.
L'chaim. Conclude with Hava Nashira on page 339. If you need the words, please join me. Hava, Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah. 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 Hava, Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah. Hava, Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah. Hava, Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah. Hava, Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah. Hava.
Inspired by our Cantor's beautiful lens on this Torah portion, I'm thinking about possibilities and the power of words and actions. May we always realize that it is on us and within us to provide a moment with the best and most positive possibilities through our words, through our deeds. May we go forward from this Shabbat striving to do the best we can with the possibilities that are within us and in front of us. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.